Fucking sick. Sick.
Ah!
That's sick.
That's fucking sack.
Okay. Sipping OJ. Alright.
The juice is loose.
And
The
we
juice.
About to start. What up, people?
Hey, what's good? How we happening? What's good?
How we happening
How we
today?
Hey, my name's Chuck.
And I am Shoop, and we are back with Chuck&Schup'S, another great episode in our season 3 of our podcast. It's only been a year, but we only have 3 seasons. How about that?
Hey, keep them coming.
We're better than friends.
Keep them fucking coming. That's it. We'll have more seasons, but now this season is all about the off season. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir. The off season. So last week we went over the AFC East, and we basically broke down the division. And you know what? We're gonna keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
The logical order would say NFC North is next, but you know. We gotta wait on Deshaun Watson. We can't break down the division until we know what the hell is going on. And maybe it happens soon, but
Deshaun.
we're gonna forget him. We're gonna move on to the AFC South. AFC South can be argued as the weakest division in football, but there's still a lot of intrigue all around. So we're gonna start with biggest headline going into the season.
Yes, sir.
What would you consider the biggest headline going into the AFC South for this year?
I would say biggest headline right now has to be, my boy Davis Mills and the Houston Texans. Now, I'm a huge Davis Mills guy. In our back episodes, give him a little shout out here and added him on Twitter. Davis Mills, huge fan. Hope you do good this year because he's gonna be thrown to my boy Brandon Cooks, who's absolutely gonna tear it on the fucking field again this year. He's gonna fucking shred defenses and absolutely take the top off. He's one of my fantasy wide receivers that you need to get in probably mid rounds. So I'm hoping that Davis Mills takes over, becomes a starting quarterback, and will surprisingly be the guy.
You think the Houston Texans are the most intriguing storyline in this division?
100%. They have to be. Worst team. I think worst team in the NFL. Could be the second worst with looming Jaguars in their division as well. But they need a quarterback, and I think this guy is it. I don't know. He played decent with what he had.
Well, we'll have to keep that in check. My biggest storyline in this division is
I can't wait.
Are the Titans bound for regression? After they made it all the way to the 1 seed last year, but faltered badly in playoffs. It wasn't the defense's fault. The defense played up to their expectations, but Ryan Tannehill didn't even come close.
Not garbage.
He played like absolute garbage. And we were touting him for most of the year because he was able to carry a supporting cast that didn't have Derrick Henry for the second half of the year and had a lot of low-level receivers. Well, he'll get Henry back this season, but he's down to A.J. Brown now. And with Tannehill's struggles and the lack of receiving talent, and with the Colts now adding Matt Ryan, are the Titans bound to fall back?
I think they definitely are because you have to rely on Derrick Henry, and if Derrick Henry falls, Tannehill did do well that second half of the season, but now like you just said, he has no wide receiving core. He's gonna have to do a lot more than just throw the ball downfield. He's gonna have to move his legs, and he's not the freshest quarterback in all of the league. If he's a little wear and tear. But for right now, what's your breakout player for this division?
I'm gonna go with a guy that was pretty forgotten about because he got hurt really early in the season last year.
Okay, yeah.
Paris Campbell of the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
Electric receiver. His problem has been has been
OHIO.
Baby. But beyond that, besides the fact that he's Ohio State, and we all know how good Ohio State receivers have been in the past, Campbell was an electric receiver in the 5 quarters he played last year until he got hurt very early. But he's got hurt in week 2, so he had plenty of time to recover. And now the Colts add Matt Ryan, who is should be a way more consistent option than Carson Wentz was. And Michael Pittman had his breakout year last year. Defenses are going to have to pay more attention to him. Someone's got to be the beneficiary of that. I think it's Campbell.
100%.
And with the Titans falling down, I think the Colts are the obvious team to rise up, and it starts this offense, and adding the fact that you have the last year's almost MVP and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield,
beast.
That it's going to open up more opportunities for somebody. I think that somebody is Campbell.
And they have a great wide receiver core. They got Michael Pittman Jr. He'll get double covered, open up lanes for Paris Campbell, and Paris Campbell runs a fucking fast 4.31 and another guy who runs a fucking really fast 40 that I think is a breakout player in this division. Jaguars, Travis Etienne.
Love that pick.
Coming off of was it ACL tear?
It was in. It was actually a foot, like a broken.
Yeah, he broke his foot. He broke his foot in summer camp, and he's gonna come back. And most running backs do well after an injury. Like, he's bound to pop off. This is really his rookie season, so I think he'll get back into shape. Him and Trevor Lawrence in the backfield together again. So they'll have that chemistry, and then I think it'll be him and James Robinson splitting the carries, and those are both electric backs right there. So hopefully the Jaguars, maybe they're not the worst team, but they'll probably be the second worst team in the league.
Well, remember at the end of last year, James Robinson tore his Achilles, so he may not even be healthy going into the season. Right. And
Travis will carry the load.
It's like a role reversal last year where Etienne was hurt and now Robinson takes over. But the other thing with Etienne is that he had a broken foot. It's not an Achilles. It's not a tendon injury like that.
Yeah, it was a very tricky.
Assuming that they rested him for this season, to get him healthy, that he's got all the opportunity in the world to be a breakout player.
100%. Now, who is your MVP of the league?
Ooh, so MVP in this division is tough because you have probably the two best running backs in the league in the same division. But just based on success, historically, I have to give it to Derrick Henry right now. And he is going to also have to be the MVP this year.
Yeah.
Because Tannehill, he can't. It's clear that he can't carry a team on his own. And it was nice to see the Titans, be able to manufacture a nice running back committee when Henry was gone. But it's really not the same imposing threat that it is when Henry is in the game. And the other thing with Henry coming up this year, where I think he's going to have an amazing both real and fantasy season.
Yeah.
Since he missed a lot of time of injury, his legs will be a lot more fresh due to the less amount of carries he has. So I think that's going to prime him for an amazing season.
So they're going to load management him, do you think?
No, I think the opposite. Because
they'll unleash him.
They've already been unleashing him, but because he had less carries last year, it won't really affect him as much.
I get you. That's very interesting. I would actually 100% agree with you. He's the MVP because he needs to be the MVP. But I'm going to go with another guy who's an absolute freak, and he should have won MVP last year, Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be my MVP of that division. Now, it all depends on what happens up front, but he ultimately is really might be the second best back in the league. Because it'll be Derrick Henry, then him.
Right.
An X factor.
Basically, I guess the best way to sum what an X factor is, it's a guy that most people don't anticipate making a difference in a game, in a good or a bad way, but their performance could very well impact how this division pans out. So Chuck, I want you to start. Who would you consider your X factor?
I was gonna the beginning of the show, I thought an X factor was someone who obviously makes an impact on the game. X factor. That's what I thought. But we're gonna do it as someone is unpredictable, right?
Someone who can almost make or break their team's performance.
Exactly. So I was gonna say Quentin Nelson, but he's the best lineman in the league. If you don't know that, then you need to go read a book.
Put some respect on Quentin Nelson's name.
Yeah, 100%.
Regardless,
he's the best lineman in the league, and I don't think he doesn't get enough recognition. But my X factor in this division is DeForest Buckner on the Colts defense. Now the Colts defense is really good these past couple of years. They have one of the best linebackers in the league, Darius Leonard, and their secondary is going to be absolutely on fire with the Stephon Gilmore addition. So DeForest Buckner, he needs to have a really, really good year to solidify that middle and make sure that nothing gets by him up front. So you have someone up front, DeForest Buckner, in the line of scrimmage, where you win that, you win the game basically. You have someone like Darius Leonard controlling the middle part of the field, all the linebackers and company on the box. And then on the back end, Stephon Gilmore being an absolute beast and causing turnovers. So that's my X factor.
Interesting. So my X factor is not a player, but rather a coach. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go with Doug Peterson, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last year, the thing with the Jaguars is that Trevor Lawrence's rookie season, while it was rather abysmal, it was pretty much destined to go nowhere from the beginning because of the incompetence. Incompetence is probably too low of a word for Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Like, it's beyond incompetent what he managed to do last year. But now Doug Peterson comes in, Super Bowl winning coach of the Eagles, and
Doug.
Yes, big Doug.
Doug.
Big Doug brought in tons of free agents. He spent tons of money off season, overpaid a lot of people, but brought in a lot of veterans like Christian Kirk, Darius Williams on the defensive side, Zay Jones also at receiver.
Zay Jones, fast as hell.
Yeah, so now the Jaguars are loaded with veteran receivers. They got Etienne coming back. So
how about our boy Evan Ingram?
I don't even want to recognize him, but but yeah, it's a lot of this. People are going to put a lot of pressure on Trevor Lawrence. I think the pressure is on Doug Peterson too, because he's basically starting fresh with Trevor Lawrence. How does he get the most out of them, and how can he bring his better group of guys around Trevor Lawrence to try to elevate him? Can the Jaguars be more than just a 5-win team this year? It's really going to be about what can Doug Peterson do to help Trevor Lawrence make that second-year leap.
I completely agree. And what can he do with the first overall pick in the draft, Trevon Walker? We'll see how he pans out. So what are we thinking on who's going to win this division? Who comes in dead last?
Yeah, I think the order, it's not clear-cut. I think the top two and the bottom two are definitely separate. Mm-hmm. And I think the top two and the bottom two will be separate by maybe like a game or so. But I think the Colts have the slight edge. Now, we talked a lot bad about the Titans. I do want to mention that while the Colts have a lot of nice pieces together, the one thing that they don't have is consistency at quarterback. They bring in Matt Ryan, who's a veteran, and I'm sure he can fit in and learn the playbook quickly, but there's going to be growing pains there. It's not going to be perfect. And the other thing that worries me about the Colts is I talked about how Derrick Henry got some rest last year because of that. It's weird to say rest because of injury,